low-income economy, okay, trying to transform themselves into high income, but it's also by middle-income economy who so it's also by the rich economy that try to sustain the very, I mean, in detail conceptual about economic development and about the how to think of development. Okay, so we may discuss last week that development economic scope it's include the much greater scope, okay, than the traditional economics, especially in the development economics. Not only focus on the economic factor, we also focus on the other issues. So it is a multidisciplinary approach, and we draw different subject, different discipline. Okay, so things like economics, social, political, and institutions, and both in the public and private, will be discussed in development economics. Mainly, what makes the development economics different from the traditional economic is that they pay much attention on the social system, okay, social system, and the social system actually is an institution, okay, it's an organizational and the institutional structure that affects the way that country behave, or accept the way that people have, okay, including things like value, attitude, power, structure, and traditions. All of this, even is not an economic factor, it could have influence on the way economic behave, and it can affect the efficiency of the economic as a whole. So from the viewpoint of development economic, we have to think just only economic, okay? We have to think in much broader scope. Okay, so in other words, you can say that the development economic actually rely on the interdependent. I mean, they depend on each other between economic and non-economic factors. You may think, for example, of you may think, for example, you can look at the public work in the government sector, in public sector. We tend to have experience actually applying for example, business registration. Okay, in the past, okay, uh, you have to apply for many related authority. Okay, for example, you want to open the 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 restaurant, you have to ask to get license from the Ministry of Commerce. You need to get license from the Ministry of Health because it's something about food. You need to get the license from local authority like municipal, okay, and so many. So the way that we work, okay, in our public sector, even the way we design our budget, okay, and system, administration, let's say we have the capital, the provincial, and so on. This kind of structure are influenced by the French colonization. I think the we've been under this colonizer for almost centuries, and that they established all kind of this. So we don't know. We just keep continue using this system, okay, because it has many years, okay. So that's what we mean by the social system, and that way actually affect the efficiency. Sometimes it can result in taking more time for the administration process, okay, to reach the decisions. You have to go to these lines, and that connection would actually leading to cost and leading to inefficiency. Okay, so you have to acknowledge of this. Okay, sometimes we live in the system and we don't know. Okay, the way, for example, the tax system, for example, different colonization in Indochina, they treat three countries differently. Okay, in Cambodia and Laos is being considered as a place where the French colonizer is going to exploit, okay, the resource. They're going to pump the resource. Okay, so they set up the tax system, require all the peasants and people in Cambodia and in Laos to pay the tax, okay, to the French protectorate, okay, and like a tribute, okay, they paid. So they did not care how to set up infrastructure or in the system that make you see that France and Laos is just a place where they're going to exploit exploit the resource. On the other hand, in Vietnam, the France likely to think this is going to live. So they set up the infrastructure, the law system. They even build infrastructure that to be a place for them to stay. So just like in Asemonglu and James Robinson mentions, country that being chosen to be the place where the colonized going to stay, they will develop faster after they gain the independence because the colonizer have set up the social system institution that provocative. I mean, it's conducive to growing faster. Okay. I watch movie like the Caribbean. Okay. The Caribbean is actually, I think it's along the coastline near the in the it's a nice place. Okay, it's beautiful, clean natures. Okay, so most of the colonizers set up the place there they want to live there. So most of this country receive a very good social system like constitutions, parliament system, infrastructure. Okay, education system, tax system, whatever, nicely for the place they're going to stay. Okay, so unlike in Cambodia and Laos, so this is what's the development. So the development economic is quite different because they're looking at all these things, looking at a system that may affect the efficiency. So I hope you get the point about that. Okay. Uh, so let move on by looking at how do we actually measure the development? What do we mean by development? Okay. So in the traditional economic, like in the macroeconomics and in the microeconomics, we tend to measure the thing like the gross national income or the GDP, the gross domestic product, as a measure to make evaluations of a country, a nation's or a territory by improvement or not, right? So if we see that their GDP have grown comparing to the previous year, we say they have economic growth. They are generating more income over the year. So it's a good sign. Okay. And if we see that it's their GDP or their GI is declining, we may say this is not a good sign. Okay. So in traditional economic point of view, measurement like income is the key. Okay, that we use to measure the well-being and the welfare of the people in one country or one nation. Okay, and we also measure things like income per person, or we call the GDP per capita. Okay, so we can look at whether on average how much a person can earn. Okay, like in our country today, I think on average a person could earn about on average. Okay. So we're looking at this, and if we see there's some improvement in this average income per person, we would say the economy is doing well. So we mainly focus and give importance on incomes, and we sometimes also could measure the benefit by using utility concept. So we measure what you can enjoy from using the something. Okay, the best you can exploit the benefit of it is the more better. I mean, you're happy because you can get most benefit of what you have. So that's what I mean by the traditional economics. Okay. However, when we discuss about the development, it will turn out to be that the concept of traditional economic about incomes and income per person or utility is not enough. So this does not mean that traditional economic way of valuing the income to represent the well-being is wrong. It just means that it's not enough. Okay. And you need to find the other thing you say you have to look at others. And one of the hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir, but I think your internet is a bit slow because when you talk, it lags. Hello, sir.
Yes, there's some problem in my internet. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, sir. But we can hear
Yes,
you
yes.
clearly, sir.
Okay. Yeah, yes, I got it. I think I have problem with the internet. Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Well,
sir.
is it smoothly? I mean, the sound is
Very
smooth.
smooth, sir.
Okay, yes. So since in the morning, I don't know, I have some like some problem with the internet. Okay. Okay, so let's keep going on. Okay, so as I said that the traditional way economic of valuing give important to income is not enough. So many development economists have recommended the new concept, okay, of how we can measure the well-being of the people. And one of the leading development economists is the Amartya Sen, and he actually a capability to functions as a way to measure the well-being. Okay, so if we want to say having a good welfare or good well-being or living happiness, then we should not rely on the traditional, I mean, economic measure like GDP or utility, okay, something like that. We have to apply the concept like capability to function as pointed by Amartya Sen. Okay, so what are the concept about capability to function mean? First, we need to acknowledge that real income level or even the level of consumptions of a specific commodity cannot suffice as a measures of well-being. Okay, so you may think that happiness may be able to measure by saying, let's say if you eat something and you consume the food, okay, and then you enjoy the feeling of happy that maybe mean uh, the well-being, but that's not enough. Okay, or even you say I have income, I have money, I can earn money. Okay, and that is also not enough to represent the well-being. According to Amartya Sen, it's not enough. This is not mean to say it's not important, okay? It just means that it's not enough. So what exactly functioning mean according to Amartya Sen? It means that it referring to what people do or can do with characteristic that they come to possess or own it. Okay, so you have something. Okay, let's say you have a car, you have a house, you have income, you have money. Okay, you have anything. Okay, so you come to have it. Okay, and you come to possess it. And anything that you possess own characteristic. Okay, whatever it is, it could be a new one, an old one, a lovely one, or according to the idea of Amartya Sen, functioning means how we are able to make use, okay, of the thing that we come to own, we come to have it. Okay, if you have a car and then you don't know to drive, okay, the car, then it means you cannot functioning, okay, you don't know functioning the car, so you cannot make the best benefit out of using the car. Okay, so that's what functioning means. If you come to have a laptop, okay, and you cannot read, you cannot write the, or you don't know how to operate the laptop, then you cannot have the functioning, okay, functioning. And so, according to Madhya Sen, you have, in order to make a best assessment of how a good way, we have to look to see whether the person is being able to functioning, okay, to functioning of the thing that they come to own, okay. In order to be able to function, you need to have capability. So, according to the Amartya Sen, capability referring to the freedom that a person has in terms of the choice of the functioning given his personal features, okay. Conversion of the characteristic into functioning and his command over the commodities. Okay, so in other words, you need to have enough capability to functions, okay, to fit or out of the thing that you come to possess and own. Okay, so the idea of the meditation is that you, in assessing the well-being, okay, to make sure that people always have good well-being, first, the person should have thing, okay. If they don't have SIM, they cannot function. Before anything else, you need to have, okay, you need to have the car, okay, you need to have a laptop, okay, you need to have a house, something like that. But the next one is that you need to make use of it, okay, you exploit, you utilize, okay, a thing that you own, your house, your car, your income, okay. And in order to exploit it, you need to have capability, okay. So So for example, you have a car, but let's say you have problem with your eyes, okay? You have a short eyesight, you cannot see far, okay? At nighttime, then you don't have the capability to function. So in that case, although you have a car, but the full benefit from functioning to make you happiness or well-being is not there, okay? So you have to find way to make the capability of people improve so that they can exploit the benefit from owning the thing that they come to possess or own. Okay, that's the idea of the Amartya Sen. So that is one perspective of looking at the well-being, okay, or happiness, or living a good life. Okay, what Amartya Sen mean. So utility consumptions of goods and service can choose the role of commodity as rather than the mean to an end. Okay, so I hope you get this sentence. The idea, the I think the sentence is quite a little bit metaphysics, but it's mean. Okay, so when you consume, you're looking only at the end, the outcome of the consumptions. Okay, so you may say he eats 3 days, for example, and he get full. Okay, so that is end, the outcome. Okay, or let's say he own a car. Okay, This is the outcome or the utility. Okay. So by judging the well-being by only looking at the ends, okay, at the outcomes, according to Amartya Sen, is not enough. It can confusing. Okay, it confusing because sometimes having that is just in order to achieve something. You have a car, but the end result is not having the car. It's about how you make use of the car. Okay, it's just a mean for you to exploit to function on it. Okay, and the function would actually depending on your capacity. Okay, so because hello everyone, can you hear me? Does the the sound actually moving smooth? Oh, it's
Not so
interrupt.
well, teacher.
Okay, yeah, so sorry for the internet here. Okay, so according to the idea of Amartya Sen, in development economics, we turn to pay more attention on health and educations and empowerment and institution. Okay, because we believe that the development economists believe that all of this influence the capability. They present the capability of the person in order to functions of the good of the thing that they come to possess and own. Okay, so if the person have a car, he have a good health, then maybe he can drive far as much as he can. He can enjoy the most benefit. Or if a person come to own a laptop, and if he can read and write, he can make the best exploitations and get the best benefit out of the laptop that he come to own. Okay. So so in development economic, health and educations, empowerment and institution come to sing like a thing that it's not the outcome of development, okay? Not to have good health, to have higher education, but also health and education would play a role in improving your capability, okay, to functions and to make you happy as much as you can. Okay, so that's the idea. I don't know to how extent you can get the idea of Amartya Sen, but hope you get some. Okay, if you have any question, please let me know.
Sure, I am not quite sure over the capabilities.
Okay,
The
so capability referring to the ability. Okay, you can think of ability of a person in order to make use of the thing. Okay, the make use mean to functions. Ability of a person to make use of the thing that he come to own. Okay, so think of a person. Let's say the person have a lot of income, is a rich man. Okay, like a Bill Gates or a billionaire. But the person actually have a poor health, a disease, for example, a chronic disease, same him. Okay, so when he have a lot of income, he may not be able to use the income to actually enjoy the most for his life. Okay, because he have a poor health, he cannot actually have the capability. Okay, because he have a poor health to exploit the most benefit out of the thing he come to possess, come to own. Okay. The same thing, let's say a person who actually have a laptop, okay? Very nice, very luxurious laptop, okay? But let's say he don't know, he illiterate. He cannot read, he cannot write, he don't know how to do the calculation plus adding, okay? Multiplication, so on, okay? So having that thing maybe not actually of the best benefit because this education not allow him to function to make the best use of the thing he come to own. Okay, so we have to think of the capability. In other words, when we, according to the idea by the Sen, you should not actually, if you want to improve the life of a person, If you want to say this person is living a happy life, you have to look at two things. First, what do they have? And what is the outcome of using they have? And you also need to think of whether the person have enough capability, okay, to exploit benefit from the thing that they own or not, okay? If not, you have to improve their capability, like giving them more good health, giving them more education, empowering them, or set up an institution that support them to make the best use of the thing they have. Okay, something like that. Is that answer your questions? I don't know.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. It's Ukdam, sir.
Yes. So generally, when we come to talk about capability, the two important things we always think of a person is the health conditions and their level of education. Okay, this is what generally Amartya Sen, okay, referring to an ingredient that is very important for improving the capability of the person. Okay, and when the person have good health, good educations, then he will be able to make the best use to function. Okay, to make the best use of the car he have. Okay, or enjoy the food, or enjoy using the laptop, okay, or expressing his opinion in assembly, in the community, and so on. Okay, so we think that health education is the key because it gives the capability to the person who have income, for example, to enjoy the most he can have, okay, with his income, if he have that capability. Okay, so the idea of Amartya Sen seem to be something like we call the subjective. Okay, you may think subjective. Okay, subjective. Subjective mean that it's very difficult to, like, each person may have different capability, right? And since they have different capability, so they may be able to function the thing they own, okay, a different way, to different degrees. So the outcome that we see from of them, okay, when we look at them on the outcome of using the thing they own, okay, may also be different. And if you use that thing to say this person is more having good well-being than other, it may be very difficult. Okay, so that's what we mean by subjective. So what is a good way to allow to make assessment of well-being is to ask people, okay, to rate it by themselves. Okay, and then we look at their capability. Okay, their capability. Okay, and look at the level of, so when you make a score like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and each one represent the level of satisfaction, something like that. Okay, and you also need to look at their capability, okay? And then you can make the evaluation about the well-being. Okay, if you want to measure it. Okay, so that's what we mean by Amartya Sen. Okay, so it's very difficult to measure because the one person to the other. Person who finished only grade 8 and a person who finished university would have different capability. Okay, so when they come to own a car, they have different ability to exploit. Okay, so how are you going to measure the well-being of this person? So you have to, rather than actually measuring the outcome, we also need to allow people to make evaluation by themselves. So we ask people to rate, okay, to rate their satisfactions of the thing that they own. Okay. And we think we look at their capability. Okay. Another thing that I want to say is that according to what you said, even those it's acknowledge the subjective of the well-being of each people. Sometimes it's also important to have an agreement or consensus. Okay, from the community perspective. Okay, so a person may have seen and he may actually hurt other people. For example, if a person have a gun, right, and the person know how to use it, okay, they have capability to function in the people, okay. So even those would make the person who kill the people make happy, but you have to admit that from the community perspective, okay, from the outside, this is an undesirable behavior because it hurt other people, leading to other people's sufferings. So we need to have a consensus that uh, this thing is not acceptable. And we also need to accept that the level of well-being actually different from one people to other people according to their capability to functions. Okay, and you have to combine this together if you want to measure the well-being. Okay, that's what we can see. But the key conclusion from Amartya Sen is that according to listen all of this, we can see that if we want to measure the well-being of a people, okay, we want to say this person is having a happy life, we need not only to look at income, we need to look at other things like education, health, empowerment, okay, freedom, self-esteem, and so on. We have to admit that, okay? So we have to look at well-being from multi-dimension perspective, okay? So that's what we can imply from the Amartya-Sen okay, about well-being. So according to this, we have to look at the development in a multi-dimension perspective because having things, having income is not enough, okay? Because it's just only the end, okay? And it's not the mean. The mean for having this end actually is the capability, okay? And so we have to think of many other things like say being able to live longer, okay? Have a longer life, okay? Having a well nourishment, okay? Eating food with enough nutrients, okay? Being healthy, okay? And free from disease, okay? Being literate, can read and write, having a well clothes, okay? Being mobile, can move, can go anywhere, freedom of traveling, okay? Able to take part in life of communities, being respect, self-esteem by have voice, people listen to your voice. Being happy is instead of being maybe as well as functioning, okay? So the whole idea is that you have to admit that development must be, okay, looking from a multi-dimension issues. Okay? If you accept the idea of Amartya Sen, okay, it's not only income, you have to look at other things. And this chart is the showing the scatter plot that show the relationship between the level of income for countries and the life expectancy and life satisfaction. So we want to see if a country is becoming richer. If you graduate from low income economy into middle income into high income, are you likely to have more people become happy, okay, with their life? So we want to see that, okay. If it's that so, it means that income, even income is not everything. Income is a starting point, okay? If it's that like that, okay? If we could verify that income always tend to associate with improving in happiness, okay, or satisfaction of life, then we made that having income is the key. Although it is necessary, okay, but it's not sufficient. Necessary. So generally we have two conditions: necessary and sufficient condition, okay. So having income may be necessary, but it's not sufficient. Okay, you need to have other thing. But without having income, maybe it's difficult to have the other thing else. Okay, if we could prove that, and you can see we have two axes here. On the vertical axis, we put the life satisfactions indicator. Okay, so this is the percentage of people who respond that they are satisfied with their life. This is survey. This survey is conducted by the Gallup Whirlpool. Okay, so Gallup actually provide a lot of survey, including about labor market and so on. Okay, you may want to explore that if you look at the labor market or they conduct many survey. So they ask people in different countries. So each dot on the graph represent the countries. Okay, and the vertical line represent the how many percent of the people surveyed in the country say they are happy in the life or satisfied the life. Okay, and on the horizontal axis we put the average income per person. Okay, so if you move to the right, it means you become richer, and this is the income that we make adjustment for the purchasing power parities. I think you get what is that, right? Because we learned it last semester. Okay. So what is the, let me try to recall about what is purchasing power parity. Okay, let me ask Danit. Good evening, Danit. Hello, Danit, are you there? Oh, maybe Danit is not here. Let me ask Nitas. So Nita, good evening. Hello, Nita, are you there?
Hello,
can you hear me?
hello, like.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my internet
Good.
is
Okay.
kind of a bit
So
slow.
I want you to explain me a little bit about, yeah. So can you explain me the meaning of the purchasing power parity? So why do we need to adjust the income per person with the PPP?
Um, we tend to use this to compare things, compare different country currency, and also we use that to compare the economic product activities and standard of living with different country. Hello, like, can you hear me?
Yes, you can, yeah, continue, yes.
Hello, like, do I have to answer again? And maybe can you repeat the question again, please?
No, yeah, hello. So I just want you to explain to me, okay? So why we do need to make the adjustment for the PPP when we compare the average income per person in different countries?
Uh, because it's have the country uh, to set the price for their product across the different country. That's why they use PPP.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. Okay, I'm just recalling on what we learned in last semester. So the reason that we make adjustment for the PPP occurs because we know that the unit that we put on the vertical axis, everything is in dollar. Okay, we know it's in dollar, so it's okay. It's the same currency we can compare. But the problem is that uh, the same dollar may buy the number of goods differently in different country because each country have different level of price. I mean, the level of income is different from one country to the others. So $1 may buy a lot of good in Cambodia than it can in Canada. Okay, so that's why we have to acknowledge the difference in price. So we make the PPP adjustment because we want to make sure that the same $1 can buy the same quantity. Okay, in different countries. That's why we make the adjustment for the PPP for the income when we want to compare it. Okay, otherwise it will be misleading. Okay, so after we make adjustment, we can put on the vertical axis, on horizontal axis here. Okay, so you can see that when we move to the right, it means that we have more income and the country is becoming richer. Okay, so some country like this is the richest country. Okay, they have about on average a person can earn up to 80,000. Okay, per year, for example. So this means that they are rich countries. And moving upward, it means that people become more happy. They're satisfied. So So each dot represent a country. So if we going to draw the line, we may see something like this. Okay. So this is seem to suggest that there is a these are rich countries, they tend to have higher score on level happiness. And for the country down here, which mostly are low income, their average income per person is less than 20,000. Okay, and they still have low level happiness. But there are some exceptions, like this country. Okay, this country have income just slightly below 20,000 per year, but they actually have very high level of happiness. Okay, but on average, we can see that the level of happiness tend to associate with improving income. So perhaps, okay, having having a good life, good see uh,
Excuse me, lecturer.
the selling of income.
We cannot hear you.
Yes. Uh, hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay now, but for the last like 5 minutes.
Hello. Hello, Dom. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, I can, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Go with our internet slow không vậy?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can hear you now, sir.
Okay. I think I saw that I lose the connection, so I just need the confirmation. Okay. Okay. So coming back, as I say, we can see there are some kind of association. Okay, between income and the level of happiness. Okay. The next thing I want to show you is this is the country. Okay, in the name in the Asian. Okay, and the name of the country is called
Bhutan.
anybody know what this country is?
But cannot see the slide, sir.
You must know this country. You
We
see the
can-
temple and you can know.
Is it Bhutan,
Okay.
sir?
Let me see. Wait a bit. Okay. Right. Okay. Correct. It's Bhutan. Okay. So Bhutan is one of the very I mean, pioneer country in valuing, okay, something beyond income. I mean, index, okay, they call the gross national. Okay, so Bhutan actually they create the index, they call it the GNA, okay, and GNA is more important than GDP, okay, it's more important than GDP. So every year, every year the government would go out and they ask people to give their assessment, okay, about many different kind of things that may contribute to their happiness. So they ask thousands of questions to the people in the countries. Okay, they ask about whether they are having enough freedom or whether they're still afraid when they go somewhere at night. Okay, they even ask whether you have a feeling afraid of ghosts and so on. Okay, so they ask thousands of questions. And then they combine all these questions. They're using the what we call the principal component analysis, called PCN. Okay, and then they come up with the numbers, and then they compare the number from one year to the next year to see to the previous year to see if there is improvement in the level of the GNA. Okay, so Bhutan is one good example of country that trying to look at the development and the welfare of the people from perspective rather than income. Okay, so I show this country because it's one of the leading country in giving importance to thing rather than having money. Okay.
Hello, like,
Hello, everyone.
teacher, I cannot see
Okay.
the slide.
Yes. Just say this line. Okay. Can you see it? Can you see the slide now?
I don't know why, but I
Monique?
still cannot see it. Like,
No, dear teacher, I cannot see the slide either, teacher.
The slide now.
no, like,
Really? See, you cannot see. Okay. Okay. Can you see the slide now, everyone?
No, like,
for me, no, like,
Hello, Monique. Can you see?
no, like, I still cannot see it.
Hello everyone, can
Yes, like we can see it now.
yeah, well, sorry for the problem. I don't know how to fix it. Okay, it's okay. So I think we almost finished. So let me going on to this. So Bhutan is a country that a pioneer in leading the other countries to make evaluations on other measure beyond thinking about the income, the GDP or GNP. You have to think of other things in order to measure the happiness. Okay. Because of this, we can talk about the thing like the SDG. Okay. SDG is the idea of it's a kind of the multi-dimension perspective from the United Nations when looking at the developments. Okay, so you may actually know about the MDG, okay, the Millennium Development Goal. So SDG is the continue of the SDGs. Okay, and in the SDG there is 17 goals, and they look at different dimensions. For example, you can see they have something like about poverty, ending the hunger, looking at good health and well-being, quality in educations, gender equalities, clean waters, affordable energies, decent work, okay, industry innovations, inequality, sustainable community, and city, okay, and responsible consumptions, okay, the circuit economy, okay, climate actions, and so on. So you can see this is to show you that they have a multi-dimension in order to measure development. Okay, you have to look in a very big different perspective. Okay, when we want to evaluate about the development. Okay. And this I show in detail. Okay, so in each dimension, you come up with an indicator that you want to quantify it. Okay, for example, the SDG target by the year 2030 that they want to reduce people who living below the poverty line of $1.25. Okay, they want to extremely eradicate. I mean, there will be no people $1.25 per day. Okay, by 2030. So that's for goal 1 and goal 2 and so on. You can check each goal. Okay, and the indicator being used to measure the each dimension. Okay. I think that's the idea, the thing that we discussed so far. So let me conclude the chapter. So the development economic is a subject that rely on the multidisciplinary perspective, because we will actually seeing that development issues require an understanding of the other subjects. Okay. Second, we have to inclusions of non-economic variable in designing the development strategy and policy as important. Okay, when you design a policy or a strategy, you have to think also of the non-economic factors, because if you design the policy and you fail to this non-economic factor, then development strategy may turn out to be unachievable or maybe fail. Okay, if you ignore the non-economic factors. Okay. And another thing is that since the goal of the measuring the well-being is to be a multi-dimensional perspective, then achieving sustainable goal is a consensus. So many countries who are the member of United Nations, they agree that the SDG is the best way to measure the development. So many countries bring SDG. So for example, in Cambodia, they bring SDG, okay? And using SDG, they develop into the country sustainable development goal, okay? So let's say call the Cambodia Sustainable Development Goal, okay? CSDG, okay? And then from CSDG, the government make it like called an SDP, okay? An SDP, the National Strategic Development Plans. I think this one is designed and prepared by the Ministry of Planning, and they organize, I think, every 4 to 5 years, okay? And they set up the indicators, and the indicators is very much aligning with the SDG, which is set by the United Nations. Okay, so that is the SDG and how it's going about this the development, the consensus perspective. Okay. The last thing I want to conclude about this chapter is that recently there are new issues that is appearing in the field of development, and it requires a lot of research, okay, and new ideas in order to come up with solution to solve the ideas. For example, issues like arrival of the new the pandemic, okay, the COVID-19 and other kind of disease will require us to have a better way of solving and for regulating, okay, and also for dealing with that kind of unexpected arrival like the disease, okay. Also, another issues that I think also important is things like the digital transformation, okay, the digital transformation. Since you can see many of our population have access to the digital technologies, okay, like the smartphones, okay, even not everybody, but the accessing to this digital information would allow people to more achieve and connected, okay, with supporting infrastructure, okay, and that would enable the people to have a good well-being if technology like digital transformation is being used in the right way. It will be benefit for the people. And if we look at the book, okay, at the book we see that we don't have the topic or chapter that devote to talking about the digital transformations. Okay, so this is a very new issues. So I hope in the coming versions or edition of the book by Michael Todaro and Smith, okay, perhaps they should have this kind of digital transformation and how it's affect the development, okay. So that is, I think, so there are new issues that are coming, and it may be not actually being addressed by traditional, traditional research, okay, which in the books. So there may be new issues. So the book may not cover everything. So digital transformation is one of the example. Okay. So I like to stop here, but if you have any question regarding any point, okay, you can ask now. Hello, good evening, Davin. Hello, Davin.
But may you clarify the functionings and capabilities?
Yeah, any question regarding the discussion today about the measurement of warming? Okay.
Yes, I have.
Well, okay, so let me go through it again. Yeah. Which one?
The functionings and capabilities, because when you explain.
Okay, so let me repeat it again. So functioning is about how we actually make use of the thing that that we come to have it. Okay, so that is functioning. Okay, so how are you going to use it? If, for example, you have a smartphone, you need to use it, right? You need to know how to use the app, how to turn it off, how to make a call, okay, how to search internet and so on. This is how you are functioning the phone, okay? That you have. That's what we mean by functioning. So you can do what you can do, okay, with the thing that you come to own, you come to possess it. And the capability referring to your ability, okay, ability that allow to function or to use the phone, okay. And this is relating to medicine. It could be that you are literate, okay, you have IT knowledge because you learn computers, okay, so you know how to operate the smartphones, and perhaps you have a good health, your eyesight is good, you're healthy, you can stay longer and playing with the phones, okay. So these are what we mean by capability. Ravin, I don't know if my explanation is helpful for you.
Clear, teacher. Thank you so much.
Hello, Chair. I have one question.
Okay.
Regarding
So any other questions? Yeah, Li Hieng. Yeah.
Regarding the cross-national happiness, is there any way that we can measure it in the, quantitative way, like a number?
That's a very good question. So G&H, okay, is actually a quantitative number. G&H is actually it's just GDP, okay? GDP have number, G&H also have number, okay? But G&H is like a composite, okay? A composite index, okay? Composite index. And it has been created from many actually a small indicator. So they combine many indicator. Indicator is coming from asking many questions. So you have, let's say you have question 1 up to question thousands, okay? Okay, and each question have their own value. You can ask any people, and it's designed to ask about things that make people happy. So they have a lot of questions. So the interviewer going to the village and they ask people all of those questions. So they get the score for each questions. And then they combine these questions into a number by using the technique which we call the principal component, okay? Principal component analysis, okay? We call that PCA, okay? PCA. So they apply the PCA on the question here, and then they come up with the composite index, and that composite index represents the G&H, okay? And they do it every year. So they can see the change in the value of the G&H. So G&H is a quantitative number, and how they come up with this. You will learn in the next chapter about the composite index, okay? We can create index, okay? Don't worry, we can create any index, okay? And the technique are the same, okay? There are many ways to create index, okay? And PCA is just one way. You have the other way, okay? In order to combine a lot of measurement in and a lot of information into a single number. We will look at in the next chapter. Li Hieng, I don't know if it's helpful for you. Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, teacher, but the last part is a bit unclear, but it's okay. I have one more question. What is the difference between the index and the normal data set like GDP?
Well, GDP is yep. Generally, what we mean by index is mean that you have to create it from many different kind of variables, okay, or many different indicator, and then you combine it together into a single numbers. That's what we mean by index composite, okay? The word composite mean that it's including many things like the CPI, okay? CPI index because it is a basket. You take a lot of it on the market, right? And then you measure the every quantities and you measure its price and you adding together and then you get the numbers. So because a basket of good including many thousands of goods on the market, good and service on the market. So that's why we call composite index, because we're creating from many quantities. Okay, while the GDP actually is also an index. Okay, but GDP is much more easier. We have where we count the number of the good produced, and we know the price, the market price. We can add it, and we can get the value for the GDP. Okay, so GDP is also a part of the index. Okay, but GDP is more easy to look, but creating some composite index, the difference between things like GDP and the G and H, for example, is that GDP is more easy. It makes sense. It's very easy. Okay, because you take the good you produce in your country, you multiply by its market value, you add them up, then you get GDP. So people know this is the value of the good that your economy produce. Okay, so it makes sense. But when it comes to composite like G and I, or G and H, okay, sorry, G and H, then you have to combine a lot of questions. Some questions are not actually something that have monetary value, okay, like price. You don't have price, okay. Let's say I ask you to measure freedom. If you say, I'm happy because I have freedom, I can say what I want to say, I can express my opinion, okay, I have freedom of speech. So how are you going to convert that? Because we don't have price for that. Like GDP, each good have its own price. So we can make calculation easily. But in the case of G&H, some good, okay, like freedoms, if you think of freedom like a good, you don't have price for it, okay? So how are you going to actually combine that into a value? So you may give people, allow them to create score. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5 means you have very good satisfaction with your freedoms. So on like that, okay? So it's slightly different and difficult than the GDP, because the thing that we include in the G and H, okay, gross happiness index, may not have market price, okay, and we have to giving a score, okay, to it, or subjective score by the person who respond the questions. Okay, so it's different. The two things are different. They are index are the same. The difference is that GDP is more easy to calculate, and then the G and H, because G and H have a lot of questions, and some are not having market price because it's not being bought and sold in the market, but come up with the number. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, teacher, that's enough for now. Thank you.
And any other questions? So, by the way, Bhutan is a nice country. I've never been there, but I think it's look like a nice. It's a Buddhism countries, and people actually like a kind we call they like natures. Okay, and the country turned. I think it's close to Nepal, and not easy to get inside the country. I guess. So if you have chance, it's nice to visit these countries. Okay, any questions for? If not, I think we can end the meeting here, and we will continue next week. Okay, so next week we will talk about the measurement. Okay, we will take a look at the comparisons. We call the classification techniques. We will see similarity and different among different group of countries. And that also partly we will touch on the index, okay? Index in which Lee Hyung actually asked a minute ago. We will see one of the index which we call the Human Development Index, the one which is developed by the UNDP, okay? So we see how the index is being created and how we can interpret the values, okay? And what are the weakness of this index? Okay, so with that, we will actually see you again next week, okay? So now I'd like to end the meeting here and have good time. Enjoy the dinner with your family. See you again next week. Goodbye.